I see that we have quorum, and I call this meeting to order. Before we continue with the agenda, I do want to point out that we have some beautiful roses that are here today. They were our courtesy of Holy Trinity Church in Fonthill, who celebrated their 150th anniversary yesterday with a very special service, and they presented those roses to me, and I said I would put them in the chamber for all to enjoy this evening. Without further ado, I would ask Councillor Papp to lead us in the invocation, followed by the singing of the national anthem. All rise.
Let us bow our heads. Dear God, to whom much is given, much is expected, grant that as this council meets to take up the business of the people, they demonstrate wisdom in all their deliberations. May the decisions that are made here in the place of government be guided by strength, courage, and compassion. Be with each council member as they consider each policy, bylaw, and procedure placed before them. As well, I'd like to make a special mention that we bow our heads and pray for the safe recovery and healthy recovery of Victoria DeHaan. And may God be with her as she goes through this difficult period. Amen.
Amen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of in all life's sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. The next item is approval of agenda. It has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the agenda for the October 15th, 2012 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any changes to the agenda? Any amendments? Councillor Rubiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the indulgence of council, I wonder if I might make a brief report when it comes to councillors' reports
Regarding?
Community Participation Day.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Papp? All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion amendment carried. Others? I'll call the question on the amended motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carried. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Do any members of council have any pecuniary interest they need to disclose at this time? Please note that in the minutes. Thank you. We do not have any presentations or delegations, nor do we have a report from Regional Councillor Brian Beattie. The committee cycle is starting anew at the region this week, tomorrow and Wednesday, and then Regional Council's next Thursday, so we look forward to that report next time at our council meeting on November 5th. So next we have adoption of minutes. It has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the minutes of the following council meetings be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. The regular council meeting from October 1st, 2012, and is this a special council meeting?
Yes, it was.
And a special council of October 9, 2012. Any errors or omissions? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. The next item is consent agenda items to be considered in block. There are a number of items there under consent agenda. Are there any items that members of council would like to lift for separate consideration? There being none, it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the following consent agenda items be received and approved. Number 10.1, minutes of the Committee of the Whole of October 1st, 2012, and the recommendations listed on the recommendation sheet. 10.2, minutes of the Committee of the Whole of October 2nd, 2012, the Budget Open House, and the recommendations contained therein. 10.3, information correspondence items received to October 10th, 2012. There are a number here. So the first is Clearview Township Resolution. The second is a resolution from the City of Hamilton regarding the Emerald Ash Borer. The third is from the City of Mississauga regarding the sale of pets. The fourth is the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation Information Notice. The fifth, Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport. The sixth, Ministry of Infrastructure. The seventh, thank you note from Nancy and Jim Youngblood. The eighth, a resolution from the town of Fort Erie. The ninth, a resolution from the City of Welland. And the 10th, a letter with information regarding the arbitration system in Ontario from Tim Hudak, our member of Provincial Parliament. Do members have any items they'd like to discuss regarding any of those? Oh, I'm sorry, and I have another one here, I'm sorry. And 10.4 is the minutes of the Pelham Summerfest Committee of July 18th and September 12th. Now we're ready. Do members have any items they'd like to discuss regarding any of the correspondence and other items under consent agenda? I'd just like to congratulate Jim and Nancy Youngblood. Nice to see that Jim is doing well and Nancy's back at work. She was off for a long period of time, and we certainly wish them well in ongoing recovery for Jim. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is presentation consideration of correspondence requiring action, and this is correspondence received to October 10th. The first is from the Pelham Platform Tennis Club, and it has been moved by Councillor Gurley, second by Councillor King, that action communication number 1, being a request from the Fonthill Platform Tennis Club, that the town create a natural barrier between the rear of the tennis club property and the adjacent residential properties, i.e. a row of cedar trees, be received and referred to staff for action. Comments or questions? I do note, I was out there yesterday, I do note that the developer in the area has also planted a bunch of trees in that area, and so that will all help with blocking of noise, etc. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carried. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that action communication item number 2, being a request for permission to conduct the annual Poppy campaign from October 26th to November 11th in the town of Pelham be received, and that the request for permission to conduct a Poppy Tag Day in the commercial areas of the town on Friday, October 26th and Saturday, October 27th be received and approved, subject to receipt of a written permission of business owners where tag days will be conducted. Discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King, that action communication item number 3, being a letter from the Solar Power Network requesting the council rescind the previously approved resolution of August 13th, 2012 regarding the province of Ontario's feed-in tariff program, FIT program, and to adopt the prescribed form template for the FIT rule version 2.0 blanket support resolution for rooftop solar projects. Note that it's only for rooftop solar projects, be received. And that the previous resolution be rescinded and that council endorse the following resolution. Whereas the province's FIT program encourages the construction and operation of rooftop solar generation projects, and whereas one or more projects may be constructed and operated in the town of Pelham, and whereas pursuant to the rules governing the FIT program, applicants whose projects receive the formal support of local municipalities will be awarded priority points, which may result in these applications being offered a FIT contract prior to other contracts without those priority points. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham supports without reservation the construction and operation of the projects, and that being rooftop solar generation projects, anywhere in the Town of Pelham, This resolution's sole purpose is to enable the participants in the FIT program to receive priority points under the FIT program and may not be used for the purpose of any other form of municipal approval in relation to the application or projects or for any other purpose, and that this resolution shall expire 12 months after its adoption by council. Discussion? There being none, I call the question. Oh, Councilor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I still have a great concern with the words "without reservation" and projects anywhere in the town of Pelham. It bothered me in the beginning, and it still bothers me now that the Green Energy Act, I think, takes away some of our autonomy anyway, but just those words scare me. In fact, they can do whatever they want to do whenever they could. Rooftop units tend to be less obtrusive, if you will, for that, because people very seldom see them. But I just wonder if through you to Mr. Larmer, there could be something to ease my concerns on that, because it's, like I say, it just seems like they're usurping any kind of authority that we may have for anything on that. Am I getting this right or not?
Mr. Larmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Any applicant that wants to put in an installation such as this would have to obtain a building permit and comply with the building code. So they aren't, they're not free to just go forward and put an installation in. They still need to comply with the building code. And, but at the same time, there's nothing that we can do zoning-wise to prevent someone from doing projects such as this.
So,
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, so this is just something that goes for points to them, but the total project has to be crossed your desk, right?
It does.
And this is where we would still have some control.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm at ease with that, thank you.
Well, good, thank you. And I did note that it is just for rooftop solar. As the proposal came to us, I think there was the option for additional ground mount solar, which we've had some experience with, bioenergy, onshore wind, but this is specifically for rooftop solar. So thank you for asking. Others? Thank you for that, Mr. Lormer. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. The next item is reports from members of council. I have two reports. The first is regarding the Pelham's Mayor's Youth Advisory Council of 2012-2013. This is a new year for the MYAC, as we're called, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. And this was advertised in local and social media that we were looking for new members. And also we wrote to the schools within Pelham and asking for some of their best students to participate in the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. As council knows, the MYAC members are involved in organizing events for youth, but they're also that link between our youth in our community and council, and are involved and sit on a number of committees to which councillors also sit on. And through the years, we know that those youth participate actively on those committees, provide additional ideas in those committees, and are quite a significant part of the success in our town. So I'm very pleased to announce the names of, and the clerk will have these for later. We do have 23 members of the MYAC this year. Maybe I won't read all their names out, but certainly they're from all of the schools: A.K. Wig, Yale Crosley, Glenny Green, Notre Dame, Pelham Center, St. Alexander, and St. Anne that are joining us. So 23 members, and this is among the highest number of youth that want to be involved in the community, and I'm very, very pleased that we have that. So I will provide that. You can look for that list with the clerk in the minutes of this evening. The process for moving forward, we did have an orientation session on October 2nd regarding the Constitution or the terms of reference and the executive positions. Also, they signed or will be bringing back actually a contract of commitment that their parents also have to co-sign. We went through, the clerk will be happy about this, we went through meeting procedures and how to make amendments and make motions and all those things as we normally do, which is part of what we do with municipal government and all of the committees that they'll sit on. Also, we talked about goal review and undertook some icebreakers. The next meeting will be Tuesday, October 23rd, where we will, where the members of the MYAC will elect from among themselves an executive and also start on their goals. So there's short-term goals that they want to achieve within the year, and there's also longer-term goals that they've been working on and interactions on that. Some of the upcoming activities, we're going to hear about one of them, which is a community participation day. I won't take Councillor Ribbiak's thunder away, but also the Halloween skate, which is coming up on Friday, October 26th from 8 till 9:30 at the Pelham Arena, is one that the MEAC organizes, and it's a great event. The youth dress up, and it's a fun time had by all. My next report is about a new childcare program at EWFAR School. On October 4th, 2012, I had the pleasure of being present at the new program. It's a new program at EWFAR. It's a childcare program before and after school, and also half-day childcare. It's operated by a Child's World Daycare. They operate 22 daycares across Niagara, including Lookout Ridge Retirement Community, and some councillors might be familiar with that, as well as they've had open houses there. The facility uses 2 of the classrooms right in the school, and they're also able to use the gymnasium and the outside play areas. They invited me to celebrate Thanksgiving with them, and it was a great time. I certainly enjoyed the turkey lunch with them, complete with pumpkin pudding, which was actually delicious, including the whipped cream. I wanted to say special thanks to Michael, Lucas, Matthew, Damien, Sheriff, Cameron, and the director, Valeria Kulverin. Thank you very much for inviting me there, and we wish you good luck with this new childcare program. Those are all my reports, councillors. We do have a report from Councillor Ribbiak. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm taking the opportunity of this report to remind colleagues here and through the services of media, the residents of Pelham, that our semi-annual community participation days will be held at the end of this week, the 18th, 19th, and 20th of October. In particular, reminding people that that on Saturday is the community portion of it, the other 2 days being business and student. And I'm sure that those institutions have their efforts well in hand. But generally, public is invited to come out to Centennial Park on the morning of Saturday, December 20th, and pick up a route, pick up garbage. It's always been a success in the past. And then, of course, to pick up lunch back at Centennial, presented by the fabulous Fenwick Lions. And we look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Appreciate your report. The next item is, did we get it right, Councillor?
Apparently, Mr. Mayor, I may have
Say
said
the website, is that what
I
you
may
want?
have said December 20th, and I really meant October 20th.
October 20th, thank
Yes.
you. You were thinking
And I
about
thank my colleague for
Christmas.
keeping me in line.
Are all the dates on the website? Maybe we should hear about that.
Yes, the website is www.pelham.ca.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Inside joke. Okay. The next item, reports from staff requiring action. Thank you. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that report CIS 31, the Pelham Summerfest 2012 evaluation report, be received, and the recommendation contained therein be approved as follows. That the town host the Pelham Summerfest 2013 from Thursday, July 18th to Sunday, July 21st, 2013, and to continue to promote fun, councillors, promote fun, free family events. That council consider the allocation of $10,000 in the 2013 Summerfest Committee during the deliberations of the operating budget, and the council endorse a resolution to fulfill the requirements for a financial request to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport for Celebrate Ontario 2013 program funding. Apologies for the alliteration problem I had. Debate regarding this motion, councillors. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may speak to the report, I'd just like to highlight a number of items to my fellow councillors and to the folks that are gathered here. The first thing I'd like to point out is I ask you if you'd turn to the last page of the report, which is a breakdown of revenue and expenses. And well, it shows that we have a net loss for Summerfest of minus $287.39. I'd like to point out to council that in fact included in the expenses are approximately $19,000 for broken down as $16,000 for the arches, and also approximately $3,000 in infrastructure work that was done by and paid for by Summerfest for the benefit of the town. There's a new electrical installation on Pelham Street that cost approximately $3,000 to the committee that we've paid for and is expensed within our expenses. In addition, included in the expenses, there's approximately $7,000 in inventory that we have. We have commemorative glasses and signs and some sandwich boards and a number of other things that we have put into inventory and that we will be using in subsequent years if we plan to carry on with this process. So the financial picture actually is much better than it appears. And through a difference in the vagaries between the way municipal accounting takes place and normal business accounting takes place, the thresholds for recognizing them as expenses versus capital and creating a balance sheet resulted in us accounting for this as an expense as opposed to a capital item. So I wanted to point that out, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to point out and turn council's attention to the significant amount of in-kind contributions that were provided by this community. Our in-kind contributions totaled $129,408. And that's exclusive of the in-kind donations that were put forward for the arches. So you can see it's a comment on our community, the generosity of our community, both with their services and with their money. And it also points out, I think, that the community is behind this Summerfest and wholeheartedly supports it. Another important thing, Mr. Mayor, that I'd like to draw council's attention to is the economic impact that this festival had on our community. And the Ministry of Tourism and Culture offers various models in which you can put various parameters, and it goes through a degree of calculations and spits out some numbers. So we ran the models several different ways, and the economic impact of Summerfest based on their modeling varies between $1 million approximately and $1.7 million. And let's say that there's a 50% error in their modeling. We still, if we look at the amount of money that was expended by Summerfest to put on Summerfest, we're still receiving a 5-to-1 benefit in this community. For every dollar that's expended on Summerfest, a minimum of $5 is spent in this community, both at Summerfest and in the period following Summerfest. So I think that's a really important number that we need to focus on when we vote on the decision whether to pursue this or not. And the last thing second last thing I'd like to point out is the amount of media exposure that Summerfest garnered. Summerfest spent approximately $20,000 on promotion, and I'd like to point out that every time Summerfest was mentioned, it was Pelham Summerfest. So the spin-off is that it drew a great deal of notoriety to the town of Pelham and brought the town of Pelham into the focus of all of our neighboring communities. And I think that's a benefit that's very difficult to measure, but certainly I think as we go forward that we'll reap the benefits of this festival should we choose to continue with it. Having said all those good things, there are a number of things that I think that we as a council will need to deal with going forward, and I'm going to put them out there, and perhaps we can, once we vote on the motion that's on the floor, Mr. Mayor, that we can make a referral to staff to look at these issues. One of the issues that we had to deal with is how do we deal with staff time that is put into this festival over and above the work that staff normally does, and did it or did it not precipitate overtime? And if it did, how do we deal with that in a way in which not only festivals and special events, but other things that happen in our community, how do we deal with that overtime in terms of whether you provide an in lieu alternative as opposed to paying overtime, or whatever alternative staff can put forward. So I think that's one thing that we would like to see referred to staff and have a report come forward perhaps at our policy meeting in the future. And the other thing that we would like to put forward as well, Mr. Mayor, is, and again, it would call for a staff report, is the development of a cross-departmental backroom support committee, if at all possible, or a planning committee, where all of the various departments that will be impacted by a festival, be it Summerfest, Canada Day, or what have you, that we would have a committee that was established inside the town that would facilitate movement of the paper and the payments and the ordering and all of that sort of thing through the, the gears that we call our town hall. That would provide a great deal of facility as we go forward with this and relieve, I think, frustration on the part of all senior staff and junior staff, as well as the volunteer committees that are involved in these sort of things. So I'm sorry for the long commentary, Mr. Mayor, but I did want to bring out those important points.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for your overview, certainly of the report and the success of Summerfest, and also some ideas on how it can work better. We could entertain, it's at your call, we could entertain an amendment which would certainly not change the motion, but add something to it that you're looking for an additional report in the future from staff that we would then deal with these kind of things at Priorities and Planning Committee. But I'll let's just let that sit, and we'll see. There may be other councillors who want to comment on the report and the success of Summerfest. Others? Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Something that went from a one-day celebration of finishing off the downtown to I might say a successful one-day celebration to a very successful four-day event certainly is to be commended to the committee and all the folks who worked for it. And certainly it puts Pelham on the map. No matter where you go, there people are talking about it and asking, are you going to do it again? And these things are, I think, very important to us. So congratulations to the committee. I certainly will support this, and we can build on something that really has a very solid foundation right now and will be, a very significant event for us going through. At AMO, we did meet with Minister Chan. He did look very favorably on what we were doing as far as the community is concerned with culture and with the celebrations, and actually encouraged us to go for this funding here as well. So, I think it's something we definitely should look forward to, and certainly will help us out on that. And I think, although you did point out a few things that need some attention, certainly we can deal with that. But I think overall the positives very much outweigh the negatives in this. And once again, congratulations on a job very well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I was going to mention Minister Chan in our meeting with him as well, Councillor Papp, yourself, and myself, and the CAO. And Minister Chan did indicate that, well, his question was how many attend and from where do they come and those kinds of things. And I understand that's the type of information that they're looking for. So I'm very pleased to see in the report some very clear evidence of statistics that was taken, and we know that we've already received that verbally, that stats were taken, and perhaps we can include in that where those who participated and it came from. That was something that they're very interested in, and the minister expressed that. So I pass that along to you as well. Thank you very much, Councillor Durley, for that. Others to the Summerfest report? Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to congratulate the committee on the excellent job that it did. The numbers certainly prove it out, but I don't think we should rest our evaluation of it purely on the numbers. People had a great time. And I think that's worth a heck of a lot that never appears on paper in this kind of cold format, but I don't think we should lose a sense of just how good a time people had there, a good time I think people had preparing for it, and I think people are anticipating going back to it. I know I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Others? Councillor Papp?
Well, to say the least, Councillor Kersey, you and the committee did an incredible job, and I can share with you that there are discussions just as late as this afternoon with members of the chamber and other key members of the communities surrounding you. You've set up a signature event. You have set up an event that everyone can look towards as a model on how to do things, particularly when it comes to community celebration and community engagement. It builds upon our whole effort to master our arts and culture, about what our community is about. Secondly, you're right, Councillor Ribbiak, the numbers themselves, the finance is insignificant when you consider the number of people that came here. And I can tell you emphatically that the people that I've spoken to surrounding throughout Niagara can't hardly wait till you get started next year. The other thing that came out of the discussions was the fact that the council took this under its umbrella. And I don't, there are other events that are held which are done by volunteer groups, and they try very hard, but sometimes it's difficult because it's hard for them to get donations, it's hard for them to, I guess, coordinate things, if you want to call it. And what came out loud and clear is the strength of being part of the municipal corporation made it very, very successful. So to people like look at Vicky and all this, you don't realize, and I'm just giving you this informal feedback, that the town of Pelham took a major stride in demonstrating how you can become part of a cultural and event development that is not only successful but will last for years. So my heartiest congratulations. And I hope that, well, I can tell you today, everyone was saying, when's it going to happen? What's going to happen next? And I told them some rock bands are coming. No, but I didn't want to tell them that because who knows. But the bottom line is it made a major significant impact throughout all of Niagara and Southern Ontario. People are really focusing on it. So on that note, I feel so pleased to be part of this corporation, to have you and your group do this work.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you. Others? Other comments on it? Councillor Papp, you highlighted the members of the committee, and certainly on behalf of all members of council, I want to thank Councillor Kersey as chair and all members of the committee. And those committee members include, in addition to Councillor Kersey, Todd Barber, B. Clark, Kathleen Goodman, and John Wink. And then, of course, staff as well, Vicky Van Ravensway, who's here this evening, and a number of Pelham staff from the Community Services Department, and so many other departments were touched, as Councillor Kersey alluded to. I think one stat you didn't talk about, Councillor, specifically, was the number that enjoyed Summerfest, 93%. And 90% will attend it next year. Those are huge numbers, and just a wonderful event, as we heard around the table. So congratulations to the members of the committee and to the community for celebrating. Councillor, you indicated that perhaps you'd want a report to come back. And I was thinking about this a little bit as I looked at the terms of reference for the committee. And it's interesting that the resolution we have before us is that the town host the Pelham Summerfest, and yet the terms of reference for the committee is that a committee will organize and develop a multiple-day festival in the town of Pelham. To Councillor Papp's point, I mean, the town has embraced it, the committee has certainly embraced it, and the community has embraced it, but maybe that's something that we can look at and say that maybe this needs to be an official town event that's overseen by a committee as opposed to a committee that's hosting it. So I would suggest, taking a look at the terms of reference at a future priorities and planning meeting. I think about a committee like Canada Day. It's a Canada Day event put on by the town, but it's well run and it's a huge success, and thousands of people participate in it, and there are volunteers involved in that. So I think what I heard you say, Councillor, is a little bit of a hiccup in the relationship between those organizing it and the town organizing it and the staff. So I think if we just refer that and can have a discussion on that, maybe there's some suggestions in terms of what those terms of reference could look like, and that the involvement, that where is it that the volunteers shone? Of course, certainly in the sponsorships, in the suggestions on how things are organized, but really, in many respects, it's staff that carried it off again this year very successfully, but huge interaction with the volunteers. And I think it's just trying to get that mix just right to make it even more of a success in future years. Councillor, I look forward to your feedback on that.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, there's been some debate as to whether a Summerfest committee is a committee of council or is not. And in part of the financial statement says that I alluded to earlier are a result of the fact that it was interpreted that in fact Summerfest is a committee of council, so that council has basically taken it under its wing. The municipality has taken it under its wing. And so that's what precipitated the request from the committee with respect to the accounting and also having a cross-departmental support committee. Perhaps we need to go back and look at the terms of reference as you've alluded to and get clarity on that going forward, because in fact, it does make a difference, because do the assets belong to the Summerfest committee, or do the assets in fact belong to the town once they're donated to Summerfest? And we had some great debates over that, Madam Treasurer, did we not? So that may be a good starting point for the debate, and part of that debate could involve the issues that I've raised also. So I'd be quite happy with that. I think the committee would be happy with that, Vicky. So if we want to do it that way, I'd be more than happy to go along with that. We could deal with the motion that's on the floor as it is, and then when maybe put it on as an agenda item on our policy committee.
I prefer that we make an amendment now that we
Okay, that's
review
fine.
the terms of reference and discuss Summerfest at an upcoming priorities and planning committee meeting, or policies and priorities meeting.
Policies and priorities.
So you'll
Fine.
make that motion?
I will.
And Councillor Papp will second that. Any discussion to that? And we'll certainly discuss it at that time. And we'll have, as part of that, I think is incumbent to have the terms of reference, this report, et cetera. So I will call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That amendment is carried. And now to the main motion. I'm not going to let you take the time to write that right now, Madam Clerk. And now to the main motion as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Thank you again to the members of the committee, to staff, to all who participated in Summerfest to make it a huge success. The next item is, again, a Summerfest-related item. It has been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Papp, that report CIS 32, Pelham Summerfest Pavilion, the Arches report be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as follows. That the Summerfest Pavilion archway located at the entrance to Pelham Town Square remain in place, that the structure be finished to withstand the elements for a minimum of 5-year period, and the allocated $15,000 contribution from the town be used for winterization. Further, that heavy truck traffic be restricted for the first 50 meters of Pelham Town Square from Pelham Street toward the municipal building until January 2017, and that the community be encouraged to make use of this area as a community gathering place for significant events. Comments or questions on this motion? Councillor Kersey, do you want to, you moved it, do you want to speak to it again?
Certainly. I'd just like to highlight a couple of things, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want it understood that not one dime of the $15,000 that council pledged was utilized in the building of these arches. So that money is still earmarked there. It's still available for use to winterize should we decide to leave the arches in place. And that will more than cover the cost of winterization. The plan to winterize would be to paint or seal. There would be a special water impervious membrane put over the backs of the arches. There would be, again, a water impervious baseboard put around the bases of the arch, and everything would be caulked and sealed so that there would be no water penetration, and we should be able to get a minimum of 5 years out of the arches should they be left in place. There would be a couple of maintenance items that would have to be undertaken each year, and that would include taking down the flies that cover the center of the arches. We wouldn't leave those up for the winter. Snow would build up on them and they would be damaged. So it gives us an opportunity to take them down, have them laundered, repaired if necessary, and then they would be put up each year. So that runs about $1,600 per year. So that would be an ongoing operating expense. One important thing is that Summerfest will always be needing an area for gathering and providing shade and for enjoying fellowship, shall we say. And instead of each year building a new and wonderful structure, at an expense to Summerfest. This year, we could, if they were left in place, we could use them for a 5-year period and merely decorate them in some way that would sort of earmark it as a new year, and that certainly would minimize the expenses to Summerfest. And one thing we haven't been able to explore, we haven't had the opportunity to explore, and I'd like to see us explore that, and if you look at the commentary made by the consultant who actually put together the urban design guidelines for downtown, his excitement with the Summerfest arches was overwhelming and saw it as a great opportunity for our community to highlight our community, to use it as a gathering place, and that it is perfectly in line with the urban design guidelines that were put forward, and feels that it will be a great draw to our community. So, and the last thing, Mr. Mayor, that I'd like to point out again is that while there's a debate on who owns the arches, I want it to be put forward that these arches were built by volunteers who raised money, who gave their time, their talents, and their skills, and are more than pleased, if the town doesn't already own it, to gift it to the town as a gift from Summerfest and the community to the town of Pelham for future enjoyment by all the citizens of the town of Pelham. So, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Others to report before us? Councillor Durley and then Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Kirsty, the cables that are holding those sails, are they supporting or are they adding to the integrity or strength of the archers for sway or anything that has nothing to do with construction? They're just
They're
purely for shape?
non-structural.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor King and then Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a point of interest, I do have a bit of a safety concern that's been brought to my attention with regards to the number of arches that are there and the access into the driveway of the bank. Even this afternoon, there was a near collision with cars going in and cars coming out because of the arches. So I'm just putting it out as food for thought, whether we need to maintain the same number of arches that we have, taking into consideration that safety factor.
Thank you.
May I
Councillor
comment
Kirsty?
on that? Actually, in fact, Councillor King, when that, the arches were initially designed, there would have been interference with the driveway for the TD Bank. That was reformulated, and in fact, the TD Bank has exactly the same width or greater than what it originally had for access to their parking lot. There's been no infringement upon that whatsoever.
May I, Mr. Mayor?
Of course.
To you, Councillor Kersey, then is it a site? I don't know what the word is, but is there something about the sight line that's affecting the access to that driveway?
Who can answer that? I don't know if
I don't
you
think
can
I can
or
answer. I can't answer that.
send it to the engineer. Ms. Van Ravensway?
No, I can't answer
Can't
that.
answer that? Okay. Mr. Ottaway?
Mr. Mayor,
I know.
well, this issue has been looked at by Public Works, and it was deemed to have met the requirements for the traffic safety. The issue that was of concern at the time was the heavy truck traffic, which has been dealt with. I'm not aware of any other issues. The other part of it is that the entrance that, the point that is being referred to as the entrance, in fact, was never an entrance. It just kind of evolved that way. It's one of those things. So if there is a safety concern, perhaps the solution is simply barricade or block that part of the entrance and allow them to use the entrance that was constructed for access to the parking lot specifically.
And that's an option. Thank you for that. Councillor King?
Thank you.
All right,
Mr.
thank
Mayor.
you. Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, I'd like to speak to, I guess, the motion that we
Please do.
refurbish or deal with the arches in such a way that they be part of the downtownscape for the next number of years. And I guess my first comment is that those arches, I think, served their intended purpose very, very well. I think that they are dramatic in their appearance, and I think the entire story of how they were designed, how they constructed, how they were put in place, donated, all in itself, that story requires, I think, a meaningful monument to the great intent and great spirit of the town of Pelham. So I think the arches symbolize something that is well worth understanding and keeping within the town. Can't help but note that there's, for want of a better term, at least a little bit of ambivalence, generally speaking, about the desire to have the arches there going forward. I note that the survey indicated that something a little shy of 60% of those responding want to keep the arches there, and I think that is a significant number in any election, as we're all very aware. But I think we need to be cognizant that there is some significant mass of people who aren't entirely supportive of that. And I think understanding that, I think we should have that in our minds as we think about this. Comments have been made to me, and I would say that those comments can be placed into a couple of categories. There are those who have commented on I guess the aesthetic appeal of the arches to them personally. Lots of people love them, some don't. But I guess that's the nature of aesthetics, and beauty, as they say, is in the eye of the beholder. I do note that nobody that I've spoken to has commented on truck traffic. Apparently nobody misses the trucks along there, and I think that's probably a good thing to know as well. One thing I think that those arches have told us is that there is a desire, I think, for some meaningful, significant architectural monument, perhaps of some permanence, needed in Pelham, downtown Fonthill. I'm not going to compare that to anything like the significance that the flagpole in Fenwick has to people in Fenwick, but certainly I think that a signature piece in downtown Fonthill would be welcomed. I think it's something that the arches have indicated that there's a place for that, and I think that that knowing that gives us the opportunity to give some thought as to how to plan for that going forward. I don't know that any of us would think that having wooden arches, however well painted and preserved, are meant to be permanent. And if we are going to put something permanent, then probably some time, effort, and probably some money should be placed into the effort of exploring an appropriate design, perhaps a competition for an appropriate architectural design. Do some planning over the years that we have while the arches are in place, assuming that we agree that they should be in place, and that perhaps should also be considered part of the contribution that Summerfest makes ultimately to the town. So I don't know whether now or here is the appropriate time and place to discuss the process by which we could move from these wooden arches to a permanent monument to the town, and more specifically, I guess, to the celebration that we do of our town annually. I think perhaps it should go into priorities and planning, perhaps in committee of whole, I don't know, but at some point I think we want to put forward a motion to decide a couple things. Number one, whether indeed we want something permanent, and then of course flowing from that, what process we would follow to come to something permanent. I don't know that we would ever want to think of the arches as anything other than a temporary building structure in downtown. But I think that the arches are a good start, and they indicate to us that there is a need for something like that. And those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Other members of council? Councillor Papp?
Notwithstanding what you have referenced, Councillor Ribbiak, the fact is that we have every right and every opportunity to use our discretionary analysis to see whether or not structures fit within the context of what we originally decided to do back when we redesigned Pelham Street. So the fact remains that if there's in fact a case for putting up some other form of archway, some sort of area that designates how and what Found Hill is, I think that's something we should look at very carefully as part of a larger plan, because once, as you know, and we've approved the official plan, East Found Hill plan, who knows what will happen? And there have been several discussions, I must say, in previous years about what we would do on the inside core of the Pelham Square. So I think it warrants some merit of discussion, but at this given point, I think a year, just to keep the arches up for the time being and set the stage for us to re-examine some other form of a thing would be very appropriate. And I concur with you on that. I think what we need to do is we've made a broad-based, not a broad-based, we've said and told others that are developing properties, you have to follow certain design guidelines. We should follow the same. What is it that we really want to achieve by this thing? The truth is, you're right, the truck traffic, nobody's complained. I really have had very little resistance to it. Notwithstanding, there's been a few people that want to paint it a certain way, but the fact is, it's attractive. It's done something that I think we haven't done, and that'll be the same as we redevelop Fenwick downtown, the same idea. So I think we're open to that kind of suggestion, at least I am, and I think my colleagues would be too, to look at it down the road and say, and who knows, 2017, if we're still here after 2014, people may have other ideas on what they want done. So anyhow, I think it's well taken and we'll pursue it. I'd like to see it discussed further as part of a larger scale, if you want to call it, town development architectural approach to the city itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Others for a first time? I have a question, and then I know Councillor Kersey wants to comment again. So my question is about the allocation of the 15,000, and as was indicated both in the report and both verbally by Councillor Kersey, that council did set aside some funding to assist with this. I'm thinking that Summerfest next year, if this gets approved, won't have that expense, the $16,000 that was spent, or $17,000. And I know from the treasurer that last week, at least, the word of the week was amortization. So in essence, the goal is to amortize this cost over 5 years, so $3,000 a year for 5 years. So I guess my question maybe to staff is that would then we contemplate that each year the Summerfest would put in $3,000 out of their funds instead of 16, it would now be 3, no. And then that way that would be paid for in the 5-year life of the structure. Is that not part of the report, Ms. Van, or part of what's contemplated, Ms. Van Ravensway?
That was not part of the report. The pavilion, or the archway, we were able to build it with community funds. Mm-hmm. We are now giving it back to the community, and in our hopes that it will be used for further events to revitalize the downtown on an ongoing basis, not only for Summerfest, but for quarterly or whatever we can manage. We would encourage the use of the area to help to revitalize the downtown. So that was not the intention to also pay back on a yearly basis.
So in essence, the vision is not that this came out of Summerfest, but not that it will be used exclusively by Summerfest. And so
yes.
I understand the committee may have talked a little bit about some of the concepts or things where it could be used. I can envision something like a Christmas in Pelham where that's closed down, or a market. Are there other opportunities that staff or the committee have discussed that this could be used for? Okay.
We have not specifically came up with any event, although already, you hear rumblings of things that could happen. Not only that, the electrical that was installed downtown, that can also be used by other events and other activities, not only Summerfest. So Summerfest sponsors and the committee, they worked hard to improve the Capitol downtown for use of anyone, not only for the Summerfest.
Okay.
Each year, we will have a certain amount in our budget put aside for decorating the pavilion. Each year, you'll see something different, but not to the extent that this was.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Councillor Kersey, you indicated you want to speak another time?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, I'd just like to comment on a couple of things that Councillor Rybak said. First of all, I'd like to point out that, yes, 58% supported it, but there was another 15% who chose not to answer the simple yes, no answer. They gave us written comments, and 95% of those written comments were, they liked them, but they wanted them finished. So we couldn't reflect that in the percentages in all fairness. So we do point out, though, that there was 15% of the respondents that, in fact, did give us written comments, most of which were basically, we like the arches, but they need to be finished. Second of all, I don't think Summerfest committee and its recommendations is at all contemplating that those arches would stay in place forever. In fact, there have been brief discussions around the very thing that you raised with respect to creating, if the community responds to having the arches there for a 5-year period, and we see that they're being utilized and they're accomplishing the things that we want, that at some point in time there would have to be a competition whereby we would look at the type of facility or structure that we would like to have there to welcome people to our community and into the heart of our community. So you're right on the money there. It's exactly where the committee is going with its thoughts, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rybak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm glad that perhaps the response to the arches was not as lukewarm as I had thought it was. That's good. I think that it's going to be necessary at some point to demonstrate a big commitment to downtown Fonthill, particularly in light of the official plan, the approval of the official plan, and the opportunity, I guess, for commercial activity to move further east. That's not something that's contemplated by anyone, and I think that the establishment of a good, significant, effective core to the town would be helpful. And I think these arches, all I'm saying is that these arches, I think, point the way to something like that being a good focal point within the town.
Okay, thank you. Others for a second time? There being none, a good debate. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. The next is presentation and consideration of bylaws. I'm sorry. The next is the asset management grant expression of interest. So it has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that report TR 55, asset management grant expression of interest, be received, and the recommendation contained therein be approved as follows. The council approved the completion of the expression of interest for the Municipal Infrastructure Investment Initiative asset management funding for the following project: Town of Pelham Asset Management Plan, and the council declares that the information that is provided in the expression of interest will be factual, and that the Town of Pelham does not currently have an asset management plan, and the development of such a plan that includes all of the information and analysis described in Building Together, a guide for municipal asset management plans, is a priority. Discussion to the motion? Thank you to the treasurer for putting this together. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carried. We trust that you'll update us, Madam Treasurer, as the application moves forward. success of that or not. Hopefully we are successful. The next is presentation and consideration of bylaws. It has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Durley, that leave now be given to introduce the following bylaws and dispense with the reading of the bylaw. 16.1 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3274, which was a bylaw to temporarily restrict heavy trucks along a portion of Pelham Town Square. Comments, questions? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the following bylaw have been considered first time be numbered as follows. Bylaw 3304, 2012, be now considered a second and third time and passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Members of council, you recall that last meeting, we then moved into the closed session and then came out and everybody left. And so what I propose is that we, what's the wording here, that we recess the next portion of the meeting and then reconvene following our priorities and planning, our policies and priorities meeting. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. The council recess the council meeting and reconvene immediately following the Policy and Priorities Committee meeting scheduled for this evening. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you. So this meeting is recessed, and I think we'll take a couple-minute break before we start that Policy and Priorities Committee meeting. Thank you.
Okay, then.